Sunday evening in San Antonio, things aren't going well. It's not looking good. Spurs team has won 3 in a row. Wemby already feels like one of these inevitable forces on the basketball court. But before we talk about young Wemby, let's talk about Draymond Green showing up with the IOU, right? It was about a 10-point game, couple minutes left in the first half, and Draymond seemingly kind of flips a switch, right? He has the shoulder charge. Was it an and one? It was a finish through contact. We get the vintage flexing from Draymond, and then the second half opens up, and he comes out like a racehorse up and down the court and quick shots Wemby at the rim, coast to coast twice, goaltend call, hits a corner three, 6 steals, right? He's all over the place. Vintage Draymond performance. And not only was it at the perfect time for the Warriors, but at the perfect time for Draymond, right? There, the propaganda from Clutch, they're trying to smooth things over, but I think we all know where he stands with the fan base and in his teammates right now. Well, I can't say teammates, but you know what I'm saying. And you heard people say, well, this is why you can't get rid of Draymond, right? And, this is what he brings to the table. As frustrating as he is, he can do this as well. Right. I think he needs to do this the rest of the way, right? It can't just be this one-time thing. We need it to happen more consistently. It's not fair to ask him to do it as much as when he was in his physical prime, but it can't be, every 2 weeks, especially at this point in the season. Let's talk about Wembanyama, though, because to me, I think AD and Gobert are the only other 2 big men rim protectors that get you out of pocket like Wembanyama, where you just have guys trying passes and shots that they typically wouldn't try because of his presence. And I've been very skeptical of his durability and his longevity when you just look at the history of a guy that size and then he plays on the perimeter. But a light bulb went off as I was watching him last night. Like, dude, he doesn't really have to play that hard. And I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying that as a good thing for his longevity and durability, right? But his ability to play center field and hover and recover, he never has to really rev the engine because he's always in position and because of his traits and his length. But you watch him guarding 2 at the same time, right? You come off a pick and roll, he can guard the roller and contest the shot all without even really moving. And you saw him disrupt a bunch of things early for the Warriors and the early turnovers, and they're trying to do things they shouldn't do. I think your best bet when attacking him is you got to buzz it by his face, right? Either the face or chest area. When you skip it on a bounce pass, by the time it bounces, he can recover and get a finger on it, right? Anything over the top, you're tempting fate. He's so good at stunting and recovering there. I think you got to get as tight to his body as you can and then whip it around his waist or shoot it quickly past his face. You've got to attack him quickly. If you try to attack him in a calculated manner, he's too good. He's too long, and he has too good of timing. As far as his offense goes, I don't love the way the 3-ball looks. I think he doesn't look always on balance, right? Which is understandable, right? But he kind of leans on that 3-ball, kind of Jaren Jackson-ish when he's off the bounce. I think it looks better on the catch, but I don't think he has to be a prolific 3-point shooter, right? Just the trailer pick and pop every now and then will open up everything else. What I am impressed with is the footwork and the leverage he's gaining from his legs, because you look at Trace Jackson and how strong he is. Obviously, he's the lower man. He's got the better center of gravity, and he was still able to back down Trace and move Trace. And it almost reminded me of John Jones when you used to see, prime John, he'd tangle up with these wrestlers that were supposedly stronger than him and had the lower center of gravity, but his base and the length of his legs allowed he used them as levers and as leverage to get where he wanted and move people with that Greco-Roman wrestling. And it almost reminded me of that with Wemby and the way he's able to play stronger than I think people imagine he is or that he actually is. It's a leverage game with those long limbs. But then maybe what's even more impressive is how he carries himself. I love the Jerry Rice, no nonsense, I'm supposed to do this type of attitude. You saw Pop coaching him up. He seems coachable. He seems mature. And he seems like the total package, man. He does. It's good for the game. It's good for the game. Now, who do you pair him with? You look at this Spurs team moving forward. I'll throw a name out for you. How about Trae Young? Because when you talk about his ability to cover up so many mistakes defensively and alter how guys want to play. Now you could pair him with a guard who's maybe a little more offensive minded, maybe a little bit lacking on the defensive end, right? And who is a better pick and roll passer and lob thrower than Trae Young? I know he's kind of fallen out of favor in Atlanta. Just a thought. I think that would be a devastating pair that, as a Warriors fan, maybe we wouldn't want that, right? But enough about the Spurs. Let's talk about our squad. 4 in a row, 4-1 on the road trip, and doing what they need to do, right? At any other point in the season, people will be like, oh yeah, here, but it's like it's almost out of desperation, right? And it feels like they may be figuring some things out, but the question is it in time? We need a continued vintage effort from Draymond moving forward if he can give it. If he's got to miss a game here and there, but when he's on the floor, that's the effort we need. Clay had missed a game, right? He missed the Charlotte game with the knee soreness, and he was back last night, and he looked like he was struggling. He looked like he doesn't have his legs, and he was frustrated about it, like something that we've seen over and over this year. But for whatever reason, he was super impatient, and he wasn't settling down. His feet were never settled on any of his shots last night, but he did hit that big one to put it away. I think the more concerning thing is, though, Kuminga, right? Clay, I think we all understand at this point in the season, he's been playing through this contract year that he may not have his legs, right? But Kuminga, you say, okay, he rests in Orlando, right? And you're like, oh, Charlotte too? Okay, probably didn't need him. Last night, the third game, now I think we can officially be concerned about Kuminga's knee, especially when you consider how little transparency the Warriors give us into some of these injuries, right? They like to slow roll the injury report. Oh, it's a knee sore. Oh, we'll see. At this point, I don't know about you, but I'm concerned because, hey, big picture, if it isn't right, then you got to sit him the rest of the way. But then that being said, then you might as well just start planning for the summer. I know that sounds crazy when you've got 3 Hall of Famers, 4, including Chris, still active and playing, but Kuminga has become such a big part of what they do. I don't see us making a run without him playing, right? And you saw it even last night. Well, we didn't shoot a free throw until the second half of that game. Now, part of that was Wemby. Again, you get out of pocket, you can hear there was a play where Wiggins was out in transition and you could hear Wemby's footsteps. He just brought it right back and they reset the offense. So some of it was that, but another part of it was we're missing Kuminga's rim pressure. I said it in today's breakdown, which is out right now on Patreon. You can check it out. Link is in the description. But I think what I'm most excited about moving forward right now is Trayce Jackson-Davis. I think we all have already figured out, we got to steal with him where we got him. But how good can this kid be? You see the good hands, you see the bounce, the second jump, the reflexes. You're starting to see him figure out that cat and mouse game as a big man in the pick and roll coverage, right? The motor runs the floor. And then most of all, I think the pressure that he's going to take off Steph as a roll man, as a vertical spacer. And it's cool to watch Steph, another 8 assist game. This is the way moving forward. I'll talk more about that as it goes. But there's actually a learning curve for Steph. For so many years, his pick and roll partners have been guys where ultimately he's still got to score. They don't, the defense isn't worried about him, whether it's Draymond or Looney or Bogut. We can go back to Bogut. And so I think Steph's figuring it out, and you're seeing some turnovers, but you're also seeing some really easy plays where Steph's getting an easy look or Trayce is getting a dunk. And so I think that's the most exciting thing moving forward, regardless of what happens this season. Now, they fly back home for this Dallas game, and then it's the Texas two-step in that Houston game that I think everybody has circled. Obviously, made ground on them. Houston finally lost. What was it, OKC that got them yesterday? No. It was Minnesota, right? Shout out Ant. So there's a 3-game lead essentially with the tiebreaker, right? You just imagine the way Dallas is rolling right now and the Houston game in the middle of this 3-game series with these Texas teams. Are they going to overlook the Mavs? Maybe it doesn't even matter. And the way Luka is cooking right now in that matchup might not be a great one. But I think the Suns are the team to look at here. I think we've all been anticipating this Lakers matchup. As fun as it is for the fan bases to talk trash and as much viewership as it gets for the league, I don't know about you, but I'd like a Suns-Warriors play-in matchup. I think that's more favorable for us when you just talk about particularly the front court, and not having to deal with AD and LeBron, right? The size issues. Both teams are willing to play small. We get a Draymond Nurkic rematch, right? That'd be fun as well. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I think you just got to take it one game at a time. But I am concerned that Klay looks to be maybe wearing down here after trying to play so much this year in a contract year. And then the Kuminga thing. At 21, it's one thing to miss a game here and there. Now that we're going on to a possibly fourth game in a week, what is it, right? We're not going to get answers, but I hope to see him in uniform Tuesday against Dallas. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.